It's actually a little wallet-sized thing. One talk they asked me to show them. It's in my wallet, I promise you. So the 12 worst are the highest pesticide-containing fruits and vegetables. Right. It's not the 15 best pesticides. All right. In that resource guide, you're going to find lots of alternatives to cosmetics, fragrances, cleaning fluids, alternatives for insecticides, both where to buy safer kind of insecticides and fungicides, and how to make it yourself, what to do at home, simple stuff. Cleaning fluids, disinfectants, drain cleaners, all this stuff. Because we really don't want to send our kids out to play in a pesticide-ridden lawn, and we don't want to have them playing in our house when it's full of chemicals. We don't want to be cooking our food in plastic. Foil wrap, okay? Have you noticed when you put the aluminum foil on the spaghetti, that when you take it off, there's a little black dots on it? Or sometimes little holes in it, right? Yeah. Aluminum doesn't evaporate. Aluminum will be leached from its surface, especially with acids. So lemon juice or spaghetti sauce will leach the aluminum out, and it goes into the food. So if you want to cover up your spaghetti sauce, put the wax paper on first, and then put your saran wrap, your plastic wrap, or your aluminum foil. I've got less problem putting aluminum foil on a piece of meat, because that's not going to pull it out as much. All right, water safety. Water safety. So it's what lurks below the water. That was the joke there. This is actually this was a series of slides that was called The Last Picture I Ever Took. So the guy with the bull and this one. Our drinking water at home is purified by chlorination, and then we add aluminum to make an aluminum chloride sludge, so that stuff falls to the bottom. Unfortunately, not all the aluminum and not all the chlorine is precipitated out, and it's in the solution. Also, a lot of hormones and pharmaceuticals, loads of chemicals remain in the water supply. Our water treatment plants are able to take out the larger molecules and the smaller molecules that they are specifically designed to remove, they can get out. But if they are not specifically programmed to get it out, it may stay in. They don't go through a reverse osmosis before it sends it back to you. So there are chemicals in our water supplies, and it comes from us. We're taking a lot of chemicals. We take our chemotherapy, we take our whatever, and we urinate, we defecate. We wash our bodies, it comes off of our skin. Whatever chemicals we put on our lawns, we wash it down and it comes off into the aquifer. So we do have problems with our water supplies at home. One of those problems has to do with halides. Halides are a group of iodine, chlorine, bromine. Like I said, the chlorine is added to the water. Bromines are coming off, like the PDBEs and our flame retardants. And they will combine with one or two carbon molecules, methane being the one carbon molecule, and they will attach at various points on that molecule. And they become very toxic. Carbon tetrachloride, you may have heard of that, very toxic chemical we use as a cleaning fluid, causes liver cancer. That was 4 chlorine molecules on a methane. So a trihalo or trichloromethane is 3 chloride molecules. or trifluoromethane would be 3 fluorine molecules. These are all very toxic substances, and the way we get exposed to these primarily is by inhalation. So it's mostly in our shower that we have a problem with them. All right? So easy things is to put a chlorine filter on. That'll take out all the halomethanes. Or to increase the space between your shower door and the ceiling, put exhaust fan in there so that that air is moving out when you're showering. Right? When the shower door goes all the way up or the curtain goes all the way up to the top, there's a staying inside where you're breathing it in. So we've all gone to bottled water, right? Unfortunately, there are less controls on bottled water than on your tap water. The tap water is controlled by the EPA, the bottled water by the FDA. Who do you trust more? The restrictions by the FDA are much less stringent, and these have been tested. Some of the bottled water comes up pretty good. Some of it comes up pretty bad. On average, it is much worse than your average tap water. And if you heat those plastic bottles, like when they truck it to you, then you could be releasing the phthalates from the bottle as well. And the bottles are just an incredible landfill nightmare. I don't know if you... This is a depiction of what our plastic bottle discharge is. This is... we produce, just Americans, 2 million plastic bottles every 5 minutes in this country. But this is not what 2 million bottles looks like. This is what 2 million bottles looks like. Every 5 minutes, this is what we're doing. You know, what's our responsibility to this planet? You know, so how much does it take to, now at the grocery stores, choose the wax paper bottle instead? You know, the milk, the orange juice, apple juice that comes in the wax bottle instead of the plastic bottle, or a glass container. If you want to take your water from home, which is your tap water, run it through a carbon filter. It's going to take care of most everything you're ever going to come across in your tap water. The Brita type filters. Just change the filter much more frequently than they recommend. They recommend it every 3 months. Change it every month. Right? You'll get really nice clean water. There are a few things that won't be filtered out. In the resource guide, it will give you information on how to get your water tested, what to look for, how to read the guide that you get from them. If there are special testing places where you can send it to. And then if you need a special filter, where to get those special filters from. Right? Puts it all together for you. It's complicated, but it puts it there. Let's shift a little bit to some of the metals. So lead is, in the 70s, it was taken out of automobile fuel and paint, and that was a huge, huge benefit. This was one of the greatest achievements in social science, taking the lead out of those common sources. And the amount of lead in kids' brains has gone down dramatically as a result of that. But it is not out completely, and we're still putting out 4,000 tons into the atmosphere every year. That's a lot of lead. Primary sources are airplane fuel. One of the highest lead toxic kids or adults I have ever treated had at levels that were about 700 on a urine challenge test, which if you've seen urine challenge tests, you'll know this is an incredibly massive number. He lived at the end of the runway. Right? That's where his house was. So the planes were taking off and coming down. That's when most of the fuel is burnt on those going up and going down. It's not the jets. It's the propeller jobs. They need high octane, and they were getting it from high leaded fuels. Also other sources that are listed there. And we now know that blood levels as low as 2 micrograms have an impact on learning. In fact, even lower than that. How many of you had your kids tested for lead? Right? And the regular pediatrician did the blood test, right? How many of them had a blood lead level greater than 10? 1, 2, greater than 5, greater than 2. Right? So we're told that if it's less than 10, it's okay. If it's over 10, we have a problem, but we don't do anything about it until it reaches 20. You're not allowed to chelate it. You won't get insurance coverage for it. This was a study done on ADHD symptoms, and they looked at the odds ratio for ADHD. A level of between 1 and 1.5, the odds ratio was 1.28, about 28% greater likelihood that the child would have ADHD if their blood level was between 1 and 1.5. And it went all the way up to almost 2 times for a blood level over 3.5. Now that's pretty remarkable because we tell people that up to 10 is okay. Right? I think everyone knows about now the cleaning up the old paint, the contaminated soil around the house. If you live in an old house where there was lead paint, that lead paint got chipped off, got into the soil, and the kids are playing now and putting that leaded soil into their mouth from their normal playing. It may also be in your pipes, if you've had lead pipes or lead solders. So you want to run the tap water until it runs cold because up until then, the first water that is still warm will have more of the lead and other stuff leached into it. And never cook from hot water. Never, you're going to save time by throwing hot water into the pan. Always cook from cold water. Avoid buying those toys from the little vending machines where they're going to be more likely to be contaminated with leaded paints and leaded plastics and garbage. If you want to test your house for some of these chemicals, lead check is one option, and they have different devices. It's a little liquid that will check for lead, cadmium, arsenic, nickel, and one other. They're pretty expensive, and unfortunately, that's not all that accurate. But it's a good start, and it's probably the least expensive way to try and get an idea of toxic chemicals in your house. If your kid is showing up with lots of chemicals all the time, and we keep chelating them, and they keep showing up with more lead, more mercury, more, you gotta wonder where's it coming from. You can start using this stuff to look for it. There's another thing I'll show you in the resource guide that costs about $25,000, but does a much better job of testing. Arsenic has been laced into chicken food. It helps them grow faster so that they don't get parasites and they eat more. Unfortunately, they poop it out, and then we take that chicken poop and spread it over the fields. The arsenic that the chickens are given is an inorganic arsenic, which is probably not all that toxic. But once they poop it out, it becomes modified by the bacteria in the soil where it becomes an organic arsenic, and then it is toxic. It's taken up into the plants, especially into rice, which sits in a water bath. So there are many areas now where the rice is contaminated